Hi, I'm Austin Eartham.
And I'm Taylor Patton, and welcome to the Kitchen Table Podcast.
We're here to motivate, educate, and relate two guys sharing our stories, helping you to get 1% better in all areas of your life. Yeah. Welcome to this week's episode of the 1440. I like doing different voices. 14 minutes and 40 seconds is 1% of your day, and we're talking about what today here, Taylor Patton? Loyalty. I think so too. That's what I have wrote down. So, loyalty. On Tuesday, we talked about what it is, why it's important, and some things that we are loyal to. We asked you guys to put some comments in the section, about what you are loyal to. So keep those comments coming, please. And let's get into what makes somebody loyal. What are some characteristics, without using the word loyal, that you think?
The ability to show up every day. Thick and thin. They show up. They follow through. They're trustworthy. They're
somebody you want to build around.
They're avid in giving feedback. Yeah. Regular feedback.
I think you just described what I would consider a decent leader as well. Somebody who's loyal is usually somewhat of a good leader just because they're ride or die, right? They're going to be around, want to give the organization the best that they got to offer and bring others up with them. So I think that's a good leadership trait as well. But on Tuesday, I gave a story that talked about some of these characteristics and following through. And I think that to be loyal, you have to follow through. Otherwise, you aren't really loyal.
Yeah.
Because some of it is saying what you are going to do and then actually doing it, right? You can say a bunch of things, but unless you do it, it doesn't really matter.
It's like a vast majority of people aren't loyal to themselves. They can be loyal to other people and things.
Mm-hmm. So how are you loyal to yourself?
I'm loyal to myself by wanting to better myself. And that I'd say for the majority of the part, I show up for myself.
How did you, if you look back on today, how did you provide loyalty to yourself?
I let my body rest. My body has been getting butt whooped last 4 or 5 days, especially at work, and it's just weird because it's like hard. Sometimes harder to for people to understand the job I do, unless you're living in it. Like it's weird to say that I train kids for a living, and so just saying that is weird and different, but it is true. And when that happens, it's basically kind of like you're fighting people, and so basically I fight people on the daily and living for.
You're a warrior.
And then I go to the gym. Then I go fight my own stuff, my own demons, my own body. And so I feel like last night, and I went to the sauna. I came home and all that, which Call of Duty, normal. And then at the end of that, my body's white. So I let myself sleep in, kind of just rejuvenate. I woke up fine. I woke up great today. I went to the gym, just saying what I'm gonna do, and that just being able to do what I do, even though I have 2 jammed fingers and I'm still following through on the plan. The plan today was doing chest and triceps, and then I wanted to figure out why doing overhead tricep press, my elbow, the top of my elbows hurt, and we talked about it being possible tendonitis. So then I tried doing different exercises that mess with it. This didn't hurt it. This hit. Maybe I just did them wrong because I haven't done dips in a very, very long time. But it hurt more. I felt it more in my shoulders and my chest than I did my triceps.
Yeah.
And then I did cable overhead tricep extensions. It didn't hurt. So it just felt confusing. And so maybe I was just thinking that I was standing, and it took pressure off. like, you know what I'm saying, like pressure off my elbows that way that I was standing, so I was able to diverge the process of where like
pain location.
Yeah, and where like the power comes from, the force comes from. So I was thinking maybe that. So just being more loyal to myself and just continue to have a body that I can use. That makes sense. Like again, I'm not as high as you are, and that like I don't stretch, I don't do the Pilates or the extra rollouts and all that stuff.
Maybe that would be the next step in being loyal to yourself, is taking care of your body.
Yeah.
Without that, you ain't gonna be worth much.
Yeah.
That's crazy again.
Sorry, random story. And this kind of has to do with it, like excuses. People give themselves excuses, and that it's kind of like going on what I was off to. Like people find one of themselves, and that they just give themselves outs. And because I do too. I do probably on the daily almost.
Yeah, they plead with themselves that whatever is okay.
And I do.
Less is fine.
Yeah. And I know I do all the time. You know, I saw this guy today. He in a wheelchair. I think he's just paralyzed from the waist down. It was what I didn't ask him to talk to him. It was what it seemed like. I got out of it. And the man looks jacked. It looked like he'd been working out for a while. Yeah, he might have been military.
There's CrossFitters in the adaptive region, so that means you have to have you have one limb of some sort. There's a guy who power cleaned 245 pounds and then jerked it. 245 pounds with one hand.
Yeah.
That's serious strength.
Right.
There's back in the day, there was a national champion in wrestling that didn't have any legs.
Mm-hmm.
Anthony Robles. From
Arizona
State.
Yeah. And I was crazy about deja vu. I talked about him in you and I in one of my classes, and how like
talk about being loyal to yourself. You can give up pretty easy.
Yeah. And then a guy kind of like shit on me and him because he's like I wrestle. He's like it's a lot easier to wrestle at half the weight because you don't have legs, and it's easier to do takedowns and all that because you don't have legs, and it gives you an advantage. I was like,
yeah, but you still.
I was like, interesting. I wrestled one day in my life and I hated it.
It is easier to take people down, and obviously you have half the weight, but still you can only do half the moves.
Right. I just thought it was interesting that again, this all comes with perspective.
It takes time to grow that much muscle. You have to be strong because that's all you use. Yeah. It makes sense, but I don't know if it's an advantage to not have legs.
I think. I got it. I just thought it's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, but sometimes loyalty, I think of by all means necessary. It's kind of like what loyalty is. But I also think that can get you into trouble sometimes. You have to use your head. There's a difference between being loyal and being stupid, I think. If you're injured or if you know you shouldn't do something, but it's oh, my friends are jumping off a cliff, I need to be loyal and do it too,
what are you loyal to then?
Well, I think that's why you should always be loyal to yourself first before loyal to anybody else. And that's why I said on Tuesday's episode, you should be loyal to your family and know your values.
Yeah.
Usually values are the same, right? Because you're going to characterize your family based on who you hang around, right? If your family's broken, you're going to hang around your friends. Oh, that's not my family. You know what I mean? So I think, or gang members are in a family, they're going to do what their family says because that's their values.
Yeah.
So whatever your values are, I think you should follow those. But sometimes you don't know what you're doing. I guess if your family values are wrong, you don't know your values are wrong. If that makes sense.
Yeah.
But and that's just if you're not aware, that you're just not aware. You can't do anything about that.
Yeah.
But I think that there's two sides of it. One, you're either there's the nice sweet spot of loyalty, which is doing the right thing, following your passions, values, dreams, etc., working hard. And then I think the two ends of the spectrum are not being loyal at all, screw people, do whatever the heck you want, or pleading with yourself I can do this today, it's okay. But once you do it once, you're to do it again, right? And then I think there's the opposite side of I'm doing this no matter what happens. I lose my head, I lose my head. I get my finger cut off, I get it cut off. Who cares? It'll be fine tomorrow.
Yeah.
So I think there's a difference. I'm so loyal to working out. I got kicked in a snowstorm, I'm kicking a snowstorm. If I got a kick into the ocean, I kick 10 balls and all my balls are gone. It's fine. You know what I mean? Like, that's being stupid loyal, in my opinion.
Mm.
So you got to know there's got to be some sort of balance, and I'm not very good at that patience side. I think loyalty causes a lot of patience.
Yeah.
As well, because you have to wait on a lot of things, because you know when you're loyal, your path is very straight. It's very obvious the path you want to go down.
Yeah.
For the most part.
Your choices are very.
Yeah, because it's choice. You make the choice to make yourself better or get towards whatever the goal is. You're loyal to it. You know yourself. Done.
Yeah.
Right. So the decisions really aren't that difficult until something goes wrong, like you get injured, or something else comes into your life that needs to be a priority.
Mm.
And then do you make that a priority or not a priority, or whatever it might be. So I think that's where it gets tough in terms of patience to know the right choice, and then to be okay with that choice affecting your decision, so that that loyalty might be happening down the road to reach the goal.
Yeah.
And it's really hard. I think another thing that comes to mind is pride with loyalty. A lot of times you're loyal because you're proud about it. You don't want your pride hurt.
Yeah. And with that, like, comes, and how you're talking about, like, gangs, and that, like, or like you're protective of people, like, and then people get, what is it, the words like stitches get stitches and all that, like, you don't want to tell on anyone.
Yeah, exactly.
So I think that also comes with pride and loyalty.
Yeah.
And
it's hard to give up that pride a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Pride's one of those. It's like greed. Like,
Yeah.
you just got to give it up. It's hard to get rid of once you got it. But it's one of those. What am I thinking?
I think with loyalty also comes active listening. I think that's how you. For me, I think that's one way. Because I'm pretty solid at listening as it is, but then like talking to people that I don't usually talk to, and actively listening and having an intent with it, I think builds trust and builds loyalty.
Yeah, what I was gonna say is it's like those virtues. Like, it's very so pride is like a virtue, right?
Yeah.
So if loyalty gets in the way of your virtues, it's very difficult to live a fulfilled life, because you don't know. That's when the decisions get hard. That's what I was gonna say. So you can continue.
I understand it, but yeah, there's a time where you weren't loyal.
Yeah, I think there's times, like every day when you plead with yourself and you make the wrong decision, I think that's not being loyal. I think that when you hurt the feelings of somebody you love, that's not being loyal. Just making bad decisions in general, or making an emotional decision, could be being unloyal, or just purposely calling somebody out or doing the opposite of what you should do or want to do. Now, I think if you're not loyal in the first place to that thing and you make the wrong decision, I don't think that's breaking loyalty. I think something that's a priority or that you care deeply about is the definition of loyalty. Yeah. When you break that bond for a minute based on a choice, I think that it's usually hurting yourself or somebody else, and I think that's when you break loyalty. So I think loyalty is very hard to talk about, though. And like you said on Tuesday, it's not talked about a lot. But I think it's an important thing to talk about when we can.
Yeah.
Remember, challenge this week. Going off here, we got about 30 seconds. Challenge this week is to reflect if you're loyal. Think about the things we've talked about, why it's important, what makes good loyalty, what we're loyal to, how you can be loyal to something else, and if you're not loyal to it, what could make you more loyal, right? Taylor went through a whole bunch of lists that said, hey, this is a characteristic that builds toward loyalty, and I hit on the leadership portion. I think that's really important to reflect on. Loyalty is an admirable trait, I think.
Yeah.
So, anything else?
That's all I got. I think you spoke on it.
Amen, brother. All right, we'll put the descriptions down below, and we'll catch you guys next week on Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in.
Love you. Bye.